Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this special meeting of the Board of Public Works for today, Friday, June 5th, 2020. The meeting was noticed for 1:30 in the afternoon today, and it is now 1:41 in the afternoon. Dr. Campos can establish quorum.
Thank you, Mr. President. Fernando Campos, Executive Officer. In City Hall, we have Commissioner Garcia. We also have Commissioner James that are joining us at City Hall in the boardroom. We are also joined by Commissioner Davis and Commissioner Caloza, who are both at City Hall but in their offices. Myself, I am dialing in from home remotely, and we are also joined by Ted Jordan, our counsel that's dialing in remotely. Mr. President, you do have a quorum at this time. Currently, we do not have any public commentary under the general public comment section. We also do not have any commentary under the neighborhood council comment section. We did receive speaker cards on item number 3, 4, 3, one caller for item number 4, one caller for item number 6, and then we also received 3 commentaries through the Google form on item number 3 that will be sent out to all commissioners in the next few minutes via email.
Okay, I'm just going to, on the items, I think I've got where I'll just call on you, Dr. Campos, to pull up any callers we have on every item, since I'm confused on which ones we have calls from and which ones we don't. So we'll get through it that way, okay?
3, 4, and 6. Yes, absolutely. And then we were just joined by 2 additional individuals. I have not been able to.
That's fine. You can deal with that as we go through the meeting, but we've got to get started.
Absolutely.
All right. So agenda item number 1, colleagues, is the journal meeting minutes from the meeting of Tuesday, May 26, 2020. Commissioner Garcia has seconded my motion that we approve the meeting minutes forthwith. Any objection, Commissioner Davis?
None.
Thank you. Any objection, Commissioner Caloza?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. The meeting minutes are approved forthwith. Agenda item number 9 is a subcontractor substitution. Ford EC Incorporated, Council District number 6, recommending that the board concur with the action of Commissioner Davis approving the request of Ford EC for the subcontractor substitution of JA Concrete Construction with Ford's own forces for concrete rebar and curbs work for the Council District number 6, Etna Street, a bridge home project. Dr. Campos, any callers on number 9?
Not at this time.
All right, thank you. We have a representative on number 9.
Yes, good afternoon. Sephi Wiles with Bureau of Contract Administration. The Bureau received a request on April 6, 2020 from 40C Incorporated to substitute JA Concrete, their bid listed OBE subcontractor for concrete rebar and curbs on the above mentioned project with Ford's own forces, another OBE contractor. The request was accompanied by a letter from JA Concrete withdrawing from their portion of work due to unforeseen events and scheduling problems. The bid listed amount for JA Concrete's portion of work was $53,970 even, and Ford will pay JA Concrete's portion of work for that amount. The substitution will be at no additional cost to the city, and the Bureau concurs with the recommendations of Commissioner Davis to approve the substitution. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any questions? No questions in the room. Commissioner Davis, anything from you?
No, I so move.
All right, thank you. I'll second it. Commissioner Caloza, did you have any questions at all?
No questions.
All right, thank you. Any objection, Commissioner Caloza?
No.
All right, thank you. So without objection, we'll adopt agenda item. That was my second, by the way, Dr. Campos. We'll adopt agenda item number 9. Without issue, we'll send number 9 forthwith. Agenda item number 8 is an authority for expenditure for truck owners on file. Street Services and the Office of Accounting are requesting board approval and execution of an authority for expenditure in the amount of $800,000. That's a new adjusted amount of $11,300,000 to encumber additional funds for the Street Services As Needed Trucking Program. This is something we do every several months, as you all know. And secondly, authorize the president or 2 members of the board to execute any as-needed trucker agreements requested to meet the service demands of the program. Dr. Campos, any callers on number 8?
At this time, Mr. President, we do not have any callers. The presenter for this item is Gina Mancha.
All right, thank you. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon, Commissioner.
Go ahead, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Gina Mancha from the Bureau of Street Services. And as you mentioned, we do have the contract truckers annually, and we initially appropriated or encumbered 10.5 million, and we do need an additional 800,000 to cover an additional 20 contract truckers that came on board in April of 2020. So this additional amount is to cover that additional work that's needed from them.
Okay, and as I said a moment ago, this comes before us every few months. Any questions, Commissioner Davis?
None.
Thank you, Commissioner Caloza.
Yeah, just a quick question. Did we anticipate this increase, or was this as a result of more truckers needed as a result of COVID-19 or some other unintended or unforecasted circumstance?
Question to our Bureau representative.
Hi, I'm sorry. This is Gina Mancha. I have a problem with the muting button. These additional 20 contract truckers are going to be needed on an ongoing basis. The 2021 program year is anticipating having 83 contract truckers. We originally had 63, added 20, and so there are 83 contract truckers that we are anticipating to be used in fiscal year 2021, and we added the 20 in April of 2020.
Yeah, I understood that piece. I was just asking if we anticipated this additional 20 or if that was a result of something else that happened the last month or so. Maybe
from the ADAPT program or something like that.
Let me ask Monica Fearson, do you have the details on that?
It needed to be completed. Okay, are you there?
Yes, but I'm having trouble hearing the commentary. I missed that last part.
Okay, so it's my understanding that they needed the additional drivers to take care of the load for the street maintenance and also to use less of the broker truckers, which costs more.
I see.
Okay, so to President James' point, was this part of the ADAPT program or part of something else?
This is just our regular as-needed truck program.
Okay, I'm just going to touch base with you offline. I just have an additional question.
You want us to come back to this, Commissioner Caloza, and try and get an answer from the executive office before?
No, it's okay. I know it's a reoccurring expense. I was just curious as to the additional truckers, if it was a result of something or something planned, but I don't know if that should be other people at Streets LA. Maybe they have the information, so I can just reach out after.
Okay. Well, let's put the item on hold and let me text out and see if I can. Hang on one moment.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll hold agenda item number 8 to get an answer in from the executive office on the question on number 8. Let's move to agenda item number 7. This is Council District 15, Engineering and Sanitation, Construction Services Contract, Cisco, and a budget increase. Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant, Advanced Water Purification Facility, Chemical Piping Replacement Project, recommending that the board authorize $399,000 in additional budget and approve a revised construction budget of $1,166,000 for the Terminal Island Water Reclamation Plant, Advanced Water Purification Facility, Chemical Piping Replacement Project, and secondly, authorize the city engineer to issue the construction services contract to issue task work orders to Cisco, and Cisco means construction workers contract, construction services contract. It does not mean the company. For an amount not to exceed $1,166,000 for the project Dr. Campos, do we have any callers on number 7?
Not at this time, Mr. President.
All right.
The speaker for this item is Lance Stevedo.
Okay, I am here. I can speak on this. I thought our partners with Bureau of Engineering would speak on it, but I can't.
I'm sorry, Dr. Campos, do we have is that a caller on this item, or?
No callers at this time. The speaker presenter is Lance.
Can you hear me, Dr. Campos?
I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, so I can speak on this item.
So Lance, it's Ethan Wong. If you want me to take over,
okay.
I can do that.
Okay, yes, Ethan. I'm sorry. I thought, yes, I'm sorry. Sorry for the confusion, everyone. Thank you, Ethan.
Do we have somebody to speak on the item?
Yes, hi. Apologize for that. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ethan Wong with Bureau of Engineering, Environmental Engineering Division. So yeah, we are requesting an additional $399,000 in additional budget for the Turmoil Island Water Reclamation Plant's Advanced Water Purification Facility, the chemical piping replacement project. So originally, the Advanced Water Purification Facility was built in 2002, and these chemical lines have been in operation since. These chemicals are used in various stages of the treatment process for the advanced water purification. So this project basically upgrades those chemical lines, and the original design was to basically keep the existing lines in place and in operation during the construction process, where we would basically install new lines just adjacent to the old lines. When we brought on the Cisco contractor, they investigated the site and the condition of the existing lines and found that due to the close proximity of the new lines, there was a chance that one of the old lines could break during the construction phase, and obviously these are hazardous chemicals, so there would be a worker safety issue. And we looked at that and decided that we needed to add a temporary bypass for the chemicals. So basically this $399,000 would cover the cost of a bypass system, which would basically bypass the chemicals out of the existing lines, therefore making it safe to remove the old lines and place the new ones for a better and safer project. That concludes my report. If there are any questions regarding that, be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Wong. Appreciate the background. Commissioner Davis, any questions on number 7?
Yes, Mr. Wong, I wanted to ask, I understand that the bypass will help to expedite separating the chemicals and making it therefore more safe in the workplace for those who are working in it. And I guess secondly, limit the opportunity for a spill or something that would be invasive to occur. What is the timeline in terms of the implementation of this bypass apparatus that we're paying for? How long will it be before you're able to put that in place?
So we would need to, after the approval of the board report, we need to basically issue a task work order to our Cisco contractor. So it would probably take a minimum of a month to 6 weeks, I think. But it could be longer. I'd have to get back to you on the specific timeline of when we could have the bypass out there on site.
Okay, and I guess we have several of our Cisco contractors who have the capabilities to do this work, or you have already picked somebody in particular on the list to do it?
So yeah, the Cisco contract is basically awarded to one contractor. Mm-hmm. We're on Cisco 11 currently.
Okay.
So when we solicit a Cisco 12 contract, it'll be open for bidding by all contractors, and basically this past Cisco contract Murray Corporation won the contract, and they're able to do work up to $15 million for the term of the contract.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the information.
You're welcome.
One moment, please. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Davis, you satisfied with your answer? All right, thank you. Commissioner Close, any questions on number 7?
No questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Garcia. All right, then I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 7, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Any objection, Commissioner Cloza?
No objections.
Thank you. Any objections, Commissioner Davis?
None.
All right, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 7. Any issue sending 7 forthwith? We'll send number 7 forthwith. Agenda item.
Mr. President, this is Fernando. Item number 7 has a fiscal impact. And
okay.
we'd like to request the item be sent to the mayor's office for approval under the development memo.
Yeah, I thought maybe we took care of that at the beginning when you listed the numbers, but we'll do it one at a time. So that motion is will be amended to send it to the mayor for approval. I guess I'll just say it every time. So we'll redo the motion. So that's the motion as amended. Commissioner Garcia, is there a second? All right, thank you. Any objection, Commissioner Davis?
None.
Thank you. Any objection, Commissioner Caloza?
No.
All right, thank you. There you go, Dr. Campos. So we're clear on number 7. We'll move it forthwith. Agenda item number 2, task order solicitation number SN112, CH2M Hill Engineers Incorporated, recommending that the board first authorize the Director of Sanitation or his designee to award TOS SN112 to CH2M Hill Engineers Incorporated from the on-call consultant list. Secondly, approve a total budget of $1,260,000, including contingency, to fund the following services. A, assist sanitation with review of submitted certified processing facilities sampling plans. B, conduct site visits to assess certified facilities process line conduct site visits to assess certified facilities process line, whatever that means, waste characterization studies to monitor for proper sampling, sample preparation, and assessing the proper procedures for the residual analysis. Whoever our representative is on that can discuss what that means. C, review raw data submitted from the CPFs. And let me find the CPFs. Those are the certified processing facilities. D, develop automated quality assurance, quality control procedures, and provide training. E, any as-needed services for unforeseen work that is needed. And 3, approve the terms of engagement to 2 years, starting from the date that sanitation issues a notice to proceed, and authorize sanitation or his designee to extend the task order for an additional 1 year. We have a representative on number 2.
We do, Mr. President. That's Michelle Mikesell, and this also has a fiscal impact.
Okay, do we have any callers on number 2?
No callers.
Okay, and could I get the last name again?
Mikesell.
Okay, I don't have any writing in front of me, so I don't want to miss people's names, so I don't, I know it's Michelle. So Michelle, I usually use the last name. I apologize. I don't have any way to spell your name in front of me, so is it okay if I just call you Michelle?
Should I go? Oh, thank you. Yes, please, Michelle.
Great, thank you. Go right ahead.
So good afternoon, President James and Commissioner, City Attorney, and Executive Officer. As President James has just said, I'm Michelle Mikesell, and I'm a Senior Management Analyst with LA Sanitation and Environment. In order to increase the diversion of material from landfill, the City of LA launched a new public-private partnership in 2017 that, for the first time in the history of the city, offers customer-friendly and efficient waste and recycling services to all commercial and industrial businesses and large multifamily dwellings. Per the Recicla contract, the Recicla service providers, or RSPs, are required to do waste characterizations of materials collected in the black, blue, and green bins in order for LA San to understand how much material is being collected, as well as the percentage of recyclable materials by material type that are being collected in each stream. In order to receive LA Sanitation certification, facilities processing Recicla materials must also conduct waste characterizations of the materials coming into the facilities per processing line, as well as what is going into the residual per line, in order to calculate an efficiency rate. for that line that is then calculated with the RSP's diversion rates. In order to ensure that the RSPs and certified processing facilities are performing their waste characterizations per our protocols and are reporting the data correctly, it is important that we have the ability to provide as much oversight of the RSPs and facilities waste characterization sampling as possible. This is the only way LA Sand can know that the data LA Sand bases the RSP's actual disposal against disposal targets and assess liquidated damages in 2025 will be legally defensible. In the First Amendment to the Recicla franchise agreement, revised timeline for the baseline disposal calculations and measurement, the first measurement year for the RSPs is 2022. It's imperative that LA Sand begin training the facilities on our waste characterization protocols, procedures, and data collection no later than July 2020. We anticipate this will take the entire second season, so July through December, and will allow the facilities the first and second season of 2021 to normalize the procedures and data collection to ensure that the data we are receiving beginning the first season in January 2022 is reliable, good data that LA Sand can defend legally if there are any questions about LDs that are assessed to the RSPs. LA Sand could not require the processing facilities to begin doing their waste characterization of the materials being processed until the facility's certification program was approved by the board on October 31st, 2019. Currently, my team consists of 4 full-time employees, 2 of whom are tasked with the RSPs and facilities, waste characterization, oversight, data collection, and analysis of their main assignments. Between CH2M and their subcontractor, Eats Sang and Associates, there will be an additional 4 to 6 people added to LA Sand's waste characterization oversight. CH2M has pledged 77.3% MBE, SBE, and EBE through their subconsultant Eats Sang and Associates. Because of the specialized skill set and specific expertise required by this project scope of work, CH2M was unable to identify a qualified WBE, DBEB, OBE through their good faith effort. There is no impact on the general fund, and the total funding for this 3-year project will not exceed the $1,260,000. Funding has been budgeted within the citywide recycling trust fund for a total of $560,000 per fiscal year. This contract has been included in the Mayor's Blue Book for fiscal year 2021, and funds and appropriations for future fiscal years are not yet identified, and existing appropriations may change based on available cash balances. Therefore, funds and appropriations will be determined by the director and general manager or his designee. In summary, I would like to request the board approve cost SN 112 and the budget of $1,260,000 for the waste characterization oversight. We would also like your approval to verbally amend this board report and request that the waste characterization oversight project begin in July 2020 for fiscal year 2021. Due to this late date, we are reaching our encumbering deadline for fiscal year 1920, and LA Sand will be unable to encumber or expend the funds that were approved for the fiscal year 2019-20 budget. Starting the contract in July 2020 for fiscal year 2021 will be advantageous to our project line, and we also understand that funding has been approved. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Mikesell. We'll start with Commissioner Cloza. Any questions, Commissioner Cloza, on number 2?
I think you did a really good job giving us the briefing on this item. I guess the only question that I had was for this specific task, I noticed that over close to 80% of it was being subcontracted out to their consultant. Was there a particular reason that the prime consultant, CH2M Hill, isn't taking on more of this work?
The sub-consultant Yi Zhang is quite an expert in this field and has been specializing. He's also been doing a lot of work with the calorie cycle and has written a lot of waste characterization protocols specifically for the state. CH2M doesn't have that type of experience, but they will be participating with the waste characterization oversight as well.
Okay. I don't have any additional questions right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Closa. Commissioner Davis, any questions on number 2?
Your microphone is muted, Commissioner.
Commissioner Davis?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wanted to ask, did you say in your report that we started this work in 2019? I thought I heard a reference to the fact that there was some budget money available in the 2019 fiscal year on this project, or maybe I misunderstood. Is that correct?
No, you didn't misunderstand.
Okay.
That is correct.
Okay. And so how much did we have approved in 2019?
$560,000.
And then it reverted back to the general fund because we were unable to use it and execute the program during that period of time?
Correct, sir.
Okay. The other question I have is CH2M Hill, are they a part of Jacobs, or did I get that wrong? Or how does that work?
Jacobs owns them, yes.
Okay, but they still go under the name CH2M Hill.
Because of the way they were contracted on our list of contractors, we have to use the CH2M Hill name.
Okay, because they started with us under that name.
Correct.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. No questions in the room. Ms. Mikesell, thank you for the explanation and the summary. I'll make a motion that we adopt agenda item number 2. Is there a second on number 2 by Commissioner Garcia? Any objection, Commissioner Davis?
No. Second it too.
A second as well from Commissioner Davis. And this is an item with an expenditure, so it will be subject to approval by the mayor's office. Commissioner Closa, any objection?
No objections. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So without objection, that'll be the amended motion.
Mr. President, this is Fernando Campos. Would you like to consider the amendment proposed by the Bureau of Sanitation to make the contracts effective July 1st, 2020?
Yes.
Great. I will include that as part of the amendment.
Great. Is that the same second from Commissioner Garcia? All right, thank you. We have no objection from Commissioners Davis or Caloza. So thank you, Dr. Campos. Any issue sending number 2 forthwith? We'll send number 2 forthwith. Thank you, Ms. Mikesell.
Thank you.
Agenda item number 4 is a contract amendment for Gang Alternatives Program, Community Beautification and Park Improvement for Council District 14, recommending that the board first authorize the Office of Community Beautification to execute a contract amendment with the Gang Alternatives Program in the amount of $98,000 for renovations. Let me go back a moment. I understand that we have we'll come back to number 4. We have our Director of the Bureau of Street Services of Streets LA on the line to provide a supplemental answer if I will recall agenda item number 8 on the authority for expenditure for the truck owners. So let's go back to number 8. We've had the explanation already. Mr. Hushkhalil, are you on the line?
Yes, Mr. President, how are you?
Great, thank you. So we had a question from Commissioner Caloza on the authority for expenditure on the as-needed trucking program. Commissioner Caloza, would you go back for your question, please?
Sure. Thanks to Adele for joining us. I just had a question about the additional 20 truckers that were added for this AE, was that planned, or was it in relation to anything else that happened the last month or so, whether it's the ADAPT program or something related to COVID-19? I was just curious.
No. It's actually your board authorized the addition of truckers on a previous action to add 20 truckers to the 63 we have on as needed. As you know, we don't hire a lot of truckers. We use a lot of these small business truckers across the city to help us with removing of debris and moving asphalt into construction activities. As we know, when we start the year, we estimate the amount we need in terms of removal, and we estimated 10.5 million in the beginning. However, as you know, we had 3 programs that were added that initially were added without funding for staff, but rather as a contract. One is the concrete panel repair, one is the failed asphalt streets, and one is alleys. Those were contractual money that we felt, and based on what we looked at, that we could not do with contracts because one is cost. We could not get the same amount of work with that amount of cost. So actually we did a lot more work with that money. For example, alleys, we're able to do 110 alleys with the $3 million, which is, I think, is a great deal for the community. Also, we've done an extensive number of concrete streets that we used the contractor on small portion. That did not prove to be effective, so we went to our staff to do the work on overtime to deliver the services. That added work requires trucking, and what we wanted to do is wait till the last quarter to see how much trucking we need, and that's what we need to get to the end of the fiscal year. So the 800,000 is less than 10% of what, less than 800,000 would take us from 10.5 to 11.3. But that's because of added work that initially we're thinking about using contract, but we went to our staff and actually we're able to do more with the money than what we thought. So that every time we touch a street, it's debris removed or asphalt brought in. So it's part of actually delivering more services.
Thank you, Adele. I'm sorry, there's trucks outside. I don't know if you guys can hear, but thank you for the additional explanation. I don't have any other questions, but I appreciate you adding that context.
Anytime, and sorry for the...
No problem, great. Thank you all, thank you to your team. And yes, we're just in lots of activity around City Hall. So Commissioner Cloza, I'll go ahead and make a motion then on agenda item number 8, seconded by Commissioner Garcia. Any objection, Commissioner Cloza?
No, I'll second.
All right, thank you. A second from Commissioner Cloza as well. This is an item that we also need for amendment for approval to the mayor's office, so subject to approval of the mayor's office. So that's the motion and the second from Commissioners Garcia and Cloza. Any objection, Commissioner Davis?
None.
All right, thank you. So that'll be the order on agenda item number 8. Dr. Campos, did you get everything you needed on number 8?
I do, yes.
Great. Thank you. So we'll send number 8 forthwith. That'll take us back to number 4, which is the contract amendment for the Gang Alternatives Program, Community Beautification and Park Improvement Projects, recommending that the board authorize the Office of Community Beautification to execute a contract amendment with Gang Alternatives Program in the amount of $98,000 for renovations at Aliso Park outdoor and indoor facilities. This is in Council District 14. Secondly, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendment after approval as to form has been obtained by the Office of the City Attorney. Dr. Campos, we have a representative on number 4.
We do have a representative. Mr. Paul Roch is on the line, but we also have a caller in, Mr. Abraham Flores from Proyecto Pastoral from General Public Comment. And we may also have additional individuals that are on the line. I have 4 individuals that have called in.
Okay, so let's go ahead. First of all, I didn't catch the last name. Is it Mr. Roch?
That's correct.
Okay, so let's go ahead and we have, you do have a caller that's calling in on number 4, correct, Dr. Campos?
That is correct.
Go ahead and pull them on the line, please, and we'll take their 2 minutes of commentary.
Absolutely. Mr. Abraham Flores, item number 4, you'll be given 2 minutes to speak. You're on the line. Your microphone has been unmuted.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'm Abe Flores. I'm the Program Director for Impacto, a youth development program serving youth in Boyle Heights. We operate out of the Aliso Pico Recreation Center. I'm here to support agenda item number 4, which will provide much-needed security renovations to our site. We serve nearly 700 youth a year at the site and our partner schools, and are currently serving our youth through virtual programming and our community through food distribution. We give out roughly 300 grab-and-go meals a day and hundreds of bags of groceries a week. The upgrades are essential for us to be ready to open back up by mid-August and start serving our youth again in person. We thank CD14 for this investment and ask the board to support it. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, sir. Dr. Campos, do you need to check any other lines while we wait a minute?
Yes, if that would be, if we can do that, that would be great. We have about 6 callers on the line now. Callers that are dialing in, if you can press star 9 if you'd like to speak on item number 4. The Board of Public Works is now considering item number 4. If you'd like to make a public comment, please raise your hand by dialing star 9. Again, callers on the line, if you can press star 9 to raise your hand if you'd like to speak on item number 4. Mr. President, I have one caller that's raised their hand. I'm going to go ahead and dispatch them through.
Thank you.
Caller ending in 767, your line has been unmuted. We are on item number 4. If you can please identify yourself and provide your public commentary, you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Jennifer Thomas. I'm with the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles. We are the property owner for the Aliso Park, and we are in support of this project. I want to thank Council District 14 for bringing forth the resources to recommend improvements both for the indoor and outdoor facilities. We are extremely grateful for this partnership. We've also submitted a letter of support, and Proyecto Pastoral has been a long-term partner with us, and we are delighted to be a part of this collaborative. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We greatly appreciate it. Dr. Campos, so we're clear on the callers for number 4, correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, thank you, Mr. Roch. Welcome, sir.
Good morning, or good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. As mentioned, this item does request board approval to amend an existing contract with the Gang Alternatives Program, one of the nonprofit community-based organizations under contract with our office. Funding in the amount of $98,000 has been provided by the Office of Councilmember Jose Huizar for improvements and various community beautification services to be provided in Aliso Pico Park, located in the community of Boyle Heights. GAP has agreed to partner with Proyecto Pastoral, a community-based organization in Boyle Heights, to complete the work, provide labor, and project administration. Services to be provided with this funding shall include painting of the multi-purpose community room, installation of new security cameras and alarm system, upgrading and replacement of bleachers adjacent to the baseball field, installation of new fencing at pedestrian access points and in the parking lot, turf refurbishment and repainting of the tennis courts and basketball courts. The park, as mentioned, is owned by the Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles. A letter of support and approval was received from them. We did not get it in time to make it a transmittal, but I believe commissioners have received copies of that letter. And at this point, we respectfully request board approval to amend the existing contract. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Garcia.
I think this is it. Hello. Thank you, President James. I don't particularly have more of the questions, more of a clarification. So they'll be basically beautifying this area with these funds in partnership with Proyecto Pastoral?
Yeah, well, I mean, it will be beautification, but also a lot of needed services, as mentioned, whether it includes painting of the multi-purpose room, installation of a new alarm system, new fencing putting up, new turf being installed, new bleachers adjacent to the baseball field. So beautification, but also improved infrastructure as well.
Understood. Thank you. Very good. I just want to give a little a side shout out to GAP for being out. They're the first ones that were out there the first night after our situation here in downtown, and I saw them working really hard that morning. So just want to say an acknowledgement for now. Eventually, we'll be able to recognize everyone, but for now, I just want to say thank you to GAP for being out there.
And thank you, Commissioner Garcia, for recognizing that and mentioning that. And Mr. Rocha, I want to thank you as well for your work and your team's work all weekend, day and night, in getting the great results that we got on cleanliness around the city after the protests that we've had. So any other questions, Commissioner Caloza, on number 4?
I don't have any other questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Commissioner Davis?
None for me.
All right, thank you. Then that was a motion from Commissioner Garcia on number 4. I'll second it. Any objection? Dr. Campos, this wasn't on your list of items for previous mayoral approval. Are we there already, or what's the story on that one?
Yes, since funding is coming already from the council offices, the approval is not being recommended at this time since council has already taken action on this.
Great, thank you, sir. So Commissioner Closa, any objection?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis, any objection?
None.
All right, thank you. That'll be the order on number 4. We'll be able to send number 4 back forthwith. Moving to number 5, Council Districts 10, 14, and 15, Contract Amendment, Office of Community Beautification Contractors. Recommending that the board first authorize OCB to execute a contract amendment with Koreatown Youth and Community Center in the amount of $8,000 to maintain former CRA properties described as Marlton Square. Secondly, authorize OCB to execute a contract amendment with Gang Alternatives Program in the amount of $8,000 to maintain CRA property described as Bethune Library. Third, authorize OCB to execute a contract amendment with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps in the amount of $5,500 to maintain a former CRA property described as First and Boyle. And fourth, authorize the president or 2 members of the Board of Public Works to execute the contract amendment after approval as to form has been obtained by the city attorney. Dr. Campos, any callers on number 5?
The list from the general public. Item number 5 is being considered by the Board of Public Works. This is a contract amendment with the Los Angeles Conservation Corps. If you'd like to make any public commentary at this time, can you please raise your hand by pressing *9. *9 to raise your hand on item number 5. Last call, item number 5. If you'd like to make any public comments, can you please raise your hand by pressing *9. *9 to raise your hand for item number 5. Mr. President, I do not see any hands for item number 5. No callers on the line for item 5.
All right, thank you, Dr. Campos. Mr. Roch on number 5.
Okay, Paul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. One clarification or switch. I notice on the board report, and as President James read, it says Council Districts 10, 14, and 15. Actually, it's Council Districts 8, 10, and 14. So the Council District 15 should be replaced with Council District 8. Just
right.
As
Thank you
a
for
matter
that.
of clarification.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so for the past several years, OCB contractors have been maintaining various properties owned by the City of Los Angeles, which were previously owned by the CRA. Originally, there were 13 of these properties. We're now down to 3 that are still owned by the city and require various maintenance efforts. These 3 properties are Marlton Square, located in the 3700 and 3800 blocks of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, the former site of the Bethune Library, located at 3685 South Vermont, and First and Boyle, located at 110 South Boyle Avenue. Services at each of these locations shall include weekly site visits that ensure that all the fencing around these locations is intact, removal of any graffiti, cleaning up of trash and litter, providing quarterly weed abatement, and generally serving as eyes and ears at each of these vacant properties. This funding is for 6 months of service, and it has been provided by the Los Angeles City Council as part of the 4th Construction Projects Report approved on April 22nd and concurred by the mayor on May the 4th. OCB is requesting board approval to amend existing contracts with 3 of our various nonprofit community-based agencies to provide these services as follows. Koreatown Youth and Community Center would maintain Marlton Square. Gang Alternatives Program will maintain the former Bethune Library site, and the Los Angeles Conservation Corps shall maintain the first and Boyle location in Boyle Heights. Once again, thank you for your attention to this item, and we respectfully request board approval.
All right, thank you. Any questions? Commissioner Davis, any questions?
None for me on this item.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Caloza?
No questions for me.
Thank you. Then that'll be a motion from Commissioner Garcia on agenda item number 5. I'll second it. And Dr. Campos, for the same explanation, we don't need the approval amendment, correct?
That is correct. Council and Mayor has already approved this item.
Okay. Then without objection, that'll be the order on number 5. And we'll send it forthwith. Mr. Raj, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Let's go to agenda item. We have number 3 and number 6, correct, Dr. Campos?
That is correct, yes.
Let's go to number 3. It's an item that's been continued a couple of times. We have had a couple of hearings on number 3. We'll see what callers we have left. I am informed on number 3 by Mr. Hall that we have, as I recall, an agreement, although I did not bring that email in with me, although I have read it and responded to it. So let me call the item and we'll go from there. Council District 13, tree removal at 1565 and 1573 West Landa Street, recommending that the board first find that the project is categorically exempt under Article 3, Section 1, Class 3, Category 1, and Class 32 infill of the city's Environmental Quality Act guidelines, and there is no substantial evidence the proposed project will have significant effect on the environment and is in compliance with the California Environmental Quality Act. Secondly, find that none of the exceptions to the use of the categorical exemption as set forth in 15300.2 of state CEQA guidelines apply. I'll interrupt myself for a moment. Mr. Jordan, just a note that I'm going to come to you first with just a quick summary question before I go to the other speakers on this. Number 3, specify that the Streets LA Urban Forestry Division located at 1149 South Broadway is custodian of the documents or other material that constitute the record of the proceedings upon which the board's decision is based. And number 4, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 9 protected trees, which includes 7 coast live oak trees and 2 California black walnut trees. Tree replacements are required. Mr. Jordan, just because I neglected to bring the email in front of me on this item, this is the item we were communicating about in the last couple of days regarding the resolution, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Dr. Campos, do you have the applicant on your list of speakers for agenda item number 3?
I do not, but I do have 5 callers that have not been identified at this time.
Okay, do you have Mr. Hall as one of the, let me.
I do, I have Mr. Hall and I have Richard de la Viaga.
Mr. Hall, and then you have somebody named Richard.
Richard de la Viaga, yes.
Okay, so let me go to Mr. Hall.
I believe that the applicant may have raised his hand or her hand. Caller number 759. I can dispatch the call in if you'd like.
No, I'd like to talk to Mr. Hall first.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Hall, I'm going to go ahead and unmute your microphone at this time.
Good afternoon.
Mr. Hall?
Yes.
Hi, thank you, sir. Could you provide, before I go to the representative for the applicant, if we have them, as well as Streets LA, could you provide the update for us, even summarizing the email that you sent to our offices?
Sure. Jamie Hall. I'm with Channel Law Group representing the Fellowship Heights Neighborhood Association in a pro bono capacity. And after our last hearing, we reached out to the applicant's attorney and talked about some ways that we thought the project could be improved. And the applicant's attorney subsequently contacted us, and they went to work and they put together a revised plan for building out the paper street, which is the Twin Oaks street that has to be built in order to provide access to these two new homes. Unfortunately, that's exactly where the largest mature oak trees are located. And so the good news is that the applicant's engineer has determined that if they meander the roadway around the trees and reorient the garage for 1573 Landa, that they can save 4 trees. That's tree number 1, 5, 36, and 37. I will let the applicant's representative speak to this, but they told me that they've already spoken to the Bureau of Engineering that has to approve the B permit to build the paper street, and that they do not object to the revised plan. And this will reduce the total number of replacement trees by 16, which means that all of the trees, the replacement trees, can actually be planted on site. And that was one of the other issues that we had concerned with, which is the off-site planting at a later date. So the basic points here is that the roadway has been redesigned for the largest mature oak trees can be retained, and replacements are going to be reduced by 16 and replanted on site. There was one other request that we were going to make today, which I haven't spoken to the applicant about yet, which is a request that chain link fencing be placed around the retained trees as opposed to snow fencing. That's a request that we're making today because we think it would be just important for the preservation of these mature trees. But that's basically it where we're at, and we are extremely pleased that that the applicant worked in good faith and came forward with this revised design, and that's where we're at.
Okay, Mr. Hall, thank you for that. Dr. Campos, let's see if we can get through your calls. We may have Jan Scow, and we may have a representative for the applicant to speak to what Mr. Hall just summarized. So why don't you go through and see if we can get the representative for the applicant.
Absolutely. I have 3 individuals that have raised their hand at this time. Caller ending 759. I'm going to unmute your microphone at this time. Caller ending in 759. We are on item number 3. Are you the applicant?
I'm the applicant's representative. This is Ron Cargill.
Mr. Cargill, you appeared at one of the last hearings, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you represent the applicant?
Yes.
Okay, would you like to speak to what Mr. Hall summarized, or is there someone else on the line that you would prefer to do that?
I could speak to it, but we also have our attorney, Mike Leifer, that was involved in the last hearing. He's also on the line and had the direct interaction with Mr. Hall.
Why don't we go to the attorney first? Dr. Campos, maybe you heard the name of the attorney. It was a bit muffled in the room. You can try that for us?
Mr. Leifer. I can screen the call. Caller ending in 010. Are you the applicant's attorney, Mr. Leifer?
Yes, I am. Good afternoon. How are you guys?
Great. Dr. Campos is batting 1,000 on these numbers with names. So go ahead. Go ahead, sir.
Quite a recollection. Okay, so we're very excited to come back here after looking at the project again. I first want to say I want to thank Mr. Jordan because I've communicated with him a few times about this project and Mr. Hall, and I think we've come back with a superior project, frankly. When Mr. Hall first objected, we did take it seriously, and we wondered how we could improve the reduction of the trees and yet maintain the project, maintain our momentum. And I worked with Mr. Jordan and Mr. Hall. We submitted a meandering twin oak alignment, which we believe satisfies City of LA requirements. Mr. Jordan had a brief look at that alignment with Bureau of Engineering representative. I've talked about it with Mr. Hall. It does retain a number of large trees in the area, and it's frankly very consistent with that neighborhood to have houses tucked in among large trees, and I think it's going to be fantastic. And I'm very excited to be able to report this to you.
Well, thank you, sir. We appreciate all the work on this. Mr. Jordan, might I offer thanks to you as well. We remain very fortunate at the Board of Public Works to have such an incredible general counsel year in and year out, day in and day out. Thank you, sir. So let's work with Mr. Jordan and myself and Dr. Campos. Do we have Mr. Banuelos on the line? Is that our representative from Streets LA?
Yes, it is.
Okay, Mr. Banuelos, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Hector. So let's work together to put the proper motion on the record that satisfies all the parties. But before we do that, let me check with my colleagues to see if they have any questions before we formulate a motion. Commissioner Davis, any questions?
No, I don't have any.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Caloza, any questions?
No questions, but I just want to commend the teamwork that was evident in this project, and it's really nice to hear from the applicant how they thought their project resulted in a better project because of the feedback they received. So that's always really nice to hear.
Great. Yeah, we greatly appreciate that. And no questions in the hearing room. So I guess we'll start with Mr. Jordan. Regarding, Ted, what do we need to do to amend this to satisfy the parties? We need to alter the number of trees that are going to be removed, but that's it, correct? And the replacement trees?
Yes, I think so. I'm just looking at the report now. It had.
I know that Mr. Hall has a question about fencing. We'll get to that in a minute, but go ahead.
Yes. Well, so I'm just looking at the report and the recommendations for board action, and I think it's going to be recommendation number 4, which currently reads: review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 9 protected trees. Now, I think, if memory serves me, it's reducing that by 4, so it'll be 5 protected trees. I don't specifically recall whether the 4 trees being saved are all oak trees or if
we'll find that out.
Black walnut, but I think that's the recommendation we need to alter.
Okay, so, and then we'll get the other agreements on the record. So, Mr. Hall, can we call up Mr. Hall real quick?
Go ahead, Mr. Hall. Your microphone has been unmuted.
Yes, this is him.
Hi, Mr. Hall. On recommendation number 4, so we're going to amend it to bring the number down to 5 protected trees, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, can you break down for us what number of that is coast live oak and which number of that are California black walnuts?
Of the 5 that are being removed, I would have to.
I don't Okay. All oak trees are going to be saved. Let me see if the applicant can break it down for us on the number removed, just so I don't have to amend this too much. Mr. Leichert?
Yes, sir.
Trees? Go ahead.
I have the tree numbers. Maybe that would be helpful for the motion. The tree numbers that we are not seeking elimination further are 1, 5, 36, and 37. And according to my colleagues, 3 oaks and 2 walnuts retained.
Were 3 oaks?
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been corrected. 3 oaks. I'm getting
3 oaks and 2
3 oaks and 2 walnuts.
Okay.
So I believe
removed.
Yes,
I'm sorry, Mr. Jordan?
No, I just was going to say what Mike did. The tree removal permit will now be for removal of 3 oak trees and 2 black walnut.
Exactly. And that comports with what Mr. Hall just told us when he said all 4 that are saved are oaks. So that would be, this would be my proposed amendment to recommendation number 4. 1, 2, and 3 stay the same. Number 4 reads, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 5 protected trees, which include 3 coast live oak trees and 2 California black walnut trees. Tree replacements are required. And then I do have a question for Mr. Likert regarding, I would like to add one more thing. The tree replacements are required. Tree replacements, I would add 2 words, on site are required, because we had just gotten confirmation from the parties that
That's fine.
Yeah, that the replacement trees are on site. And then the only other question I have, Mr. Likert, is Mr. Hall had made a request about some protective fencing for the period of the work on the project around at least one of the existing mature trees. Is that okay on your with your team?
Yeah, during construction?
Yes, Mr. Hall, during
Fencing
construction, correct?
Yes, we were asking for chain link fencing around the 4 trees that are going to be, that we just saved, 1,
Right,
5, 36, and 37. And that's very flat land right there, so it'll be easy to put up the chain link fencing, very inexpensive, and it'll be much better than snow fencing.
Okay, Mr. Likert?
That's fine. I would think during construction. I would think after construction it would look terrible.
Oh, yes, only during the period of construction.
Correct. Okay. So then we've got that agreement on the record. I'm not going to make that a condition of the motion. So the motion is as amended, which I'll read paragraph 4 again, just so we're all clear. 1, 2, and 3 stay the same. Number 4, review and approve the request for a fee permit to remove 5 protected trees, which include 3 coast live oak trees and 2 California black walnut trees. Tree replacements on site are required. That would be the amended motion. Is there a second? Commissioner Garcia? Commissioner Davis, any objection?
No. Mr. President, before
Yes.
you complete the motion process, we do have 2 individuals that are in line to make any public commentary. This item has been heard already through public comment. Would you like to let those individuals speak now or continue without public commentary? Again, you've already had public comment on this item.
Well, no, let's go ahead and take, we have, how many calls do you have with our hands raised?
I only have 2 additional callers.
All right, let me get the motion as drafted on the record, and then I'll go back to each of those callers, 1 minute each, since we have already taken public comment on this on more than one occasion. So Dr. Campos, are you clear on the revised proposal on number 4?
Yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and take the first caller for 1 minute on additional public comment.
Great. Thank you, Mr. President. Caller ending in 664. Caller ending in 664. Your hand is raised. Your microphone has been unmuted. We are on item number 3. You will be allowed 1 minute to speak on this item. Can you please identify yourself and begin your commentary?
Hi, I'm Allison from Jan Scow Consulting Arborist, and I'm actually the project arborist for the Landa project. And I just wanted to add that we would always recommend chain link fencing. That is what will be installed around all the protected trees on the site that are remaining. And I also wanted to add that in addition to moving the street, we've also ensured that there will be no above or below grade construction within 9 feet of the any of the 4 protected trees that are being saved now. So we've given them adequate protection. That's it. That's all I wanted to add.
Great. Thank you, ma'am. Very helpful. Dr. Campos, we can go to, so that was a representative from Jan Scow's office. We can go to the next caller.
Yes, the next caller is caller ending in 353, Mr. De La Viaga. Your microphone has been unmuted. You will be permitted 1 minute to speak on this item. This is item number 3. Can you please state your name?
Thank you.
Commentary.
Yes, this is Ricky De La Viaga. Thank you so much to the board and everyone involved, Mr. Jordan, Mr. Leifer, Mr. Cargill, Allison, and Jan Scow. I'm going to try to truncate my remarks to fit within the 1 minute. I'd just like to point out the benefits to the developer of both retaining the trees and ensure they survive the development process. For instance, research clearly shows that houses with mature trees on site can sell for significantly higher prices per square foot than those without mature trees. Additionally, removing large dead trees can be very expensive if a tree dies during the project. The developer should be incentivized to properly protect the trees for their financial benefits and appeal of having worked with the neighbors and the community to make sure the project integrates well into this precious coast live oak California walnut woodland habitat on the edge of Elysian Park. Some recent comments from neighbors on Landa adjacent to the property: rebuilding Twin Oak Street by killing the Twin Oaks would have been a very sorry irony. To concur with the report, yes, we have seen a bobcat on several occasions. Hawks are always around. There were 3 barn owls as well. Also, please don't cut them down. And I am so thankful for all the work you did to save our elder oaks across the street. I've lived here for 20 plus years, and I always knew that one day that lot would be developed, but I prayed those mighty oaks would be spared from progress. We are highly motivated to find solutions, compromises, and project alternatives that will save trees. The reality is without proper fencing and site can end up dying anyway.
Great. Thank you for the comment. We appreciate it. Dr. Campos, so that clears the callers on number 3, correct?
That is correct, yes.
All right, thank you. Then my motion is on the table. Is there a second? My amended motion.
Second.
That was Commissioner Garcia and Commissioner Davis. Commissioner Closa, any objection?
No objections, thank you.
Okay, without objection, we'll adopt agenda item number 3 as amended. Any issue sending it forthwith? We'll send it forthwith. I want to thank Mr. Likert and your team as well. Mr. Cargill, Mr. Hall, thank you. And a big thank you to Mr. Jordan as well. So we appreciate all the work that was done on this for a positive result. Dr. Campos, that leaves number 6 on the table, correct?
That is correct, yes.
Okay. On agenda item number 6, we have, and I believe we have a caller in the queue on number 6 as well, maybe more than one. Council District 9, contract acceptance, South Hall Solar Photovoltaic Roof System Project, recommending that the board accept the contract. That's first. Secondly, assess Perma City Construction Corporation with liquidated damages in the amount of $23,718.75 for violation of the city's project labor agreement. And third, instruct the director and Office of Accounting to disencumber the recommended liquidated damages in the amount of $23,718.75 from the project fund. Before we go to the callers, though, I want to go to Mr. Monte from the Bureau of Contract Administration to explain where the recommendation is from the Bureau of Contract Administration, because that may affect one way or the other what the positions of our callers are. So, Mr. Monte on number 6.
Good afternoon, commissioners and board executives. My name is Ian Monte, representing the Bureau of Contract Administration, Office of Contract Compliance, and I'm here to discuss the contract acceptance recommendations for the South Hall Solar Photovoltaic Roof System Project. As Commissioner James has already stated, 3 purposes: to accept the contract, to assess Perma City Construction Corporation, otherwise known as PCC, with liquidated damages in the amount of $23,718.75 for violation of the city's project labor agreement, otherwise known as the PLA, and then to instruct the disencumbering of the recommended liquidated damages from the project fund. Very quickly, just want to give a little bit of information on the contract, and then I will get right into the rationale for the assessment. The Board of Public Works executed the construction for contract number Charles 124703 on May 1st, 2017 with Perma City Construction Corporation in the amount of $5,946,116.01. And on May 17, 2018, construction was completed. The project was to design and construct 2 megawatt solar photovoltaic arrays on the roof of the South Hall of the Los Angeles Convention Center, which is located in Council District number 9. The project was awarded with a cost of $5,405,560.01, with a contingency of $540,556, with a total authorized budget of $5,946,116.01. There were 9 change orders on this project, which increased the contract amount by $87,000 $523.07, bringing the total cost of the project to $5,493,083.08. The project was completed at 1.62% above the awarded amount and still 7.62% below its authorized budget. Really quick with the change orders. One of the reasons that this project is coming to the board so late is, unfortunately, one of the change orders sat on the desk of a now retired employee who had retired 15 months ago, who worked for the Bureau of Engineering, and that change order had not been processed until after, unfortunately, people started going back over that person's admin and caught it. So that's why we're here. The project was funded by the Los Angeles Convention Center Commercial Paper Program, which was from fiscal year 2015-2016. Okay, so discussing the PLA violation assessment rationale. The PLA has a local apprentice hiring goal of 50% of the total apprentice hours on the project. However, this project was only able to achieve 45%, thus putting it in violation of the PLA. On September 12, 2017, Bureau of Contract Administration, otherwise known as BCA, met with PCC at BCA's main office to review the pre-construction checklist, which includes the provisions of the PLA's targeted hiring. The checklist was signed by the PCC representative in attendance, indicating that PCC would comply with the city's PLA. After the September 2017 meeting, on 5 separate occasions, including 4 during construction, BCA made official notification to PCC that the project was not in compliance with the PLA's targeted hiring provisions. This included 2 PLA progress meetings and 2 transmittals of liquidated damages that were calculated based on enforcement provisions within the Public Infrastructure Stabilization Policy. In chronological order, transmittal number 1 was dated and sent on January 4, 2018, in which PCC was informed that the local apprentice and transitional targeted hiring provisions of the PLA were achieving 28% and 0% respectively on a 50% local apprentice goal and a 10% transitional goal. A PLA progress meeting occurred on January 25th, 2018, in which PCC was again notified that local apprentice was not meeting its 50% goal with 28% achievement, and transitional was still at 0%. A second transmittal was dated and sent on February 28, 2018, in which PCC was notified that local apprentice at a 50% goal was still not meeting that goal, and they were at 42%. However, to PCC's credit, transitional did correct itself, and they were at 12% on a 10% goal, so they were in compliance there. Finally, another PLA progress meeting occurred on March 28, 2018, in which PCC was notified that the local apprentice was achieving at 43% on that 50% goal, and again, not in compliance. The final notification to PCC was made via transmittal number 3, which is dated and sent on May 31st, 2018, and this listed the finalized local apprentice hiring achievement of 45%, along with the liquidated damages for noncompliance with the PLA's local apprentice hiring provision, and that is the amount in dispute of $23,718.75. Aside from the PLA violation assessment, this project actually went very well. PCC pledged with minority business enterprises, they pledged 0.18%, and they achieved 0.18%. For small business enterprises, they pledged 0.74% and achieved 0.73%, so they were off 1/100th of a point. The same with emerging business enterprise, they pledged 0.74% and achieved 0.73%. Again, 1/100th of a percent off of their pledge. And OBE, while they did not necessarily make there was no anticipated number, they pledged 36.78% and achieved 36.62%. The mandatory subcontracting minimum on this project at bid required 25% minimum, and PCC pledged 37.34% and achieved 37.16% on this project. Other information on this project is the contractors complied with the equal employment opportunity and the state mandated labor compliance requirements of this contract. There are no unresolved property owner complaints in connection with this project, and the contractor performance evaluation report is submitted. Therefore, based on the information presented, the Bureau of Contract Administration recommends to accept this contract, but also to assess liquidated damages for violation of the PLA in amount of $23,718.75, again, disencumbering the amount from the project fund. And I'm available for questions if there are any. Thank
All
you.
right, any questions for Mr. Monte for the assessment of liquidated damages before we go to the representative? Mr. Jordan? Question for you. Do we have, does the board have authority here regarding the discretion on whether or not to assess these liquidated damages or revise them?
Yes, you do have discretion here.
All right, thank you.
Not,
just wanted to establish.
Yes, you have discretion.
All right, thank you. Before we enter the discussion, I just wanted to be square on what our authority was. Dr. Campos, you have callers in the queue on number 6.
I do. I have Mr. Brad Godges, Godges. I'm not sure if it's from PCC or ECI on the line, and then I also have one other caller ending in 700 that I have not been able to identify at this time.
Okay, if you have a caller that you know is for number 6, let's call them first.
Great. Caller ending in 110, Brad Godges. Your line has been unmuted.
Hello, everyone. I'm Brad Godges from CSI Electric, which represents the majority of the labor. Therefore, the responsibility of the LDs has been assigned to CSI if pursued. As final payroll records indicate, the contracting team made drastic adjustments to our labor force upon our first meeting with the Labor Compliance Office back in January 25th, 2018. To make these changes, the team suffered already financial impacts by rehiring new employees. These efforts occurred after 80% of the project's labor hours were already exhausted. However, we still made our best efforts to adjust our manpower to fulfill the PLA. The last 20% of the project required highly skilled electricians. This labor was utilized in preparing to shut down critical electrical loads in the convention center and tie in the 2 megawatt PV system into the facility's electrical backbone with the utility company. The scope required highly skilled electricians and that had the highest safety training, which in both categories exceeded an apprentice level electrician. Additionally, during our second meeting at the BCA office on March 28, 2018, trigger points were discussed for when the BCA comes in to help support contractors with progress notifications. We discussed that the sudden influx of labor for solar projects makes it extremely difficult for these same trigger points that are used on traditional construction projects feasible for solar construction projects. Approximately 80% of the apprentice level work was required within the first half of the build, while traditional construction projects can utilize these lower skilled workers throughout. Lastly, the project teams were able to well exceed some of the other project labor categories, such as transitional workers, which is one of the hardest categories to fill. In this category, we were able to support getting people back to work or back to the workforce and back on their feet. Through these hurdles, the build team still pushed and succeeded to meet the project schedule deadline for the Los Angeles Convention Center and well below authorized budget. For these noted reasons, we ask you to consider to minimize or fully withdraw the liquidated damage penalties. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, sir. Let's go. Dr. Campos, why don't you clear the other line? See if we have somebody for this item.
Absolutely. Caller ending in 700, caller ending in 700, your microphone has been unmuted at this time. We are on item number 6. Would you like to speak on this item?
This is Jake Harvey, also with CSI. I would just reiterate what Brad said, so I have nothing more to add.
All right, thank you, sir. Commissioner Davis, we'll start with you. BCA, any questions?
I wanted to ask the representative from the contractor about this shortfall of utilization of workers. I think it was it some 380 hours? Is that pretty much what we're talking about, was a shortage of accomplishment for using about 380 hours of work time? Can you hear me?
If that question is to Ian, Commissioner Davis.
Yes.
They were short 379.5 hours.
Okay. And so, sir, in terms of those that you were able to use on the project, you mentioned that the project basically had a first half and a second half, if you will, and that a lot of the areas of the 379 hours, I would suspect, were individuals who should have been hired in the first half of the project. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing you say? President James?
I'm sorry. I thought you were asking them a question.
I am. What is his name, by the way?
Oh, I think all I got is, I can't hear Dr. Campos when he says last names. I had the word Brad.
Okay. Brad, are you there? Are they still?
Yes, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, they still had me muted. I was trying to raise my hand.
Yeah, I'm asking you about the project. If I heard you correctly, you explained that you couldn't use some of the workers because in the first half of the project is when they should have been used. And I guess somehow this came to your attention in the second half of the project. Is that right?
That is correct.
Well, what happened in the first half as to why we weren't able to assess using them then?
We're a union-based contractor from IBEW.
Yes.
We utilize workers throughout LA. And within that local, each individual has their individual zip codes that they are assigned, or that they have. And when they get into the union or their apprenticeship, those zip codes stay with them at all times.
Sure.
Now, on the PLA, we needed to manipulate or work through getting some of the people that were in compliance with our local union and try and get them compliant with those zip codes. So essentially, when the board, or when BCA came out in January, we already had all the modules installed on the entire convention center roof, which is, I believe, was about 6,000 modules or panels, solar panels. That's
so
when we
you're saying
typically
by the
utilize
time
most of it.
let me ask if I'm correct. By the time BCA came to you, the work that these workers would have done, that was already gone, is what you're saying.
The vast majority of it, yes, that is correct.
So basically, BCA came to us late after the work that these people should have had was already done. Is that right?
That'd be correct.
Okay, that's interesting. BCA, are you still there?
BCA is here.
What happened? Why did we come so late, knowing that our goal is to get these people placed in a job?
So we were monitoring this project, and this project jumped from 30% complete to 70% complete because, unfortunately, a progress payment was not made, and 2 progress payments were made at once. We track completion percentage of the PLA projects based on progress payments. We co-reference them with the OCC ones that we will get from the inspectors as well, but we have always based our PLA completion percentage on progress payments. And unfortunately, it went from under 30% to over 70% overnight, literally. And unfortunately, that's when we went in to discuss, because we didn't know at the time that we were talking to them that the project was that far along. We had no idea.
So we missed the mark on this. We missed the mark on this. We didn't get to them enough time to get those individuals who should have been working the opportunity to work.
I can see why you'd say that, sir.
Well, I'm concerned about that. I'm not only saying it, I'm concerned about that. So, sir, Brad, in the second half, that unfortunately our guys got to you late, and as a result of that, these young people, these people, didn't have an opportunity to partake in the work to fulfill this 379 hours. What work was available in the second half of the project?
The second half of the project, we went down into the electrical vaults down below the convention center, and that's where we tied in with the utility company. And like I mentioned previously, that's all highest skilled electricians that have been through a lot of safety training just to be able to work on those tasks.
So did we hire, there were some electricians who were not able to get work. Did we hire all of the electrical talent available in this second half?
I'm afraid I'm not certain of your question.
Okay, you explained to me that there was electrical work available in the second half of the project after BCA came to you, late though it may have been. There still was some work available, and you have said that some of the work that was available was electrical work. Is that correct?
Yes, it was, by that time, it was the vast majority of it was electrical work.
Okay, so I'm saying, given that fact, then did we utilize all of the talent that was available to you that had been given to you by BCA? We had some folk who had electrical apprenticeship talent or were in that program during a period of time. Did we use those individuals?
Yes, we did use the individuals at the apprentice level that we could fulfill those tasks.
Okay, so there were some that we could not use who had electrical experience or were connected to the electrical experience, and we couldn't use them. Were there some individuals in that category?
We utilized all the apprentice level, the lower level electricians where we could when we got to that point of the build. But at the point of the build, we already used 80% of our total labor force.
Okay, so what I'm trying to better understand is we used some of them, and then some of them we did not use, correct? Brad?
No, well, yes. So we were putting in calls to our local for those zip code compliance.
Okay, when you referred to that several times, you've referred to this zip code compliance. Explain the zip code compliance to me. Explain it to me.
Commissioner Davis, we also have Jay Fireby, I believe, on item 6 that has just raised his hand, so perhaps he may be able to assist Brad. I opened the line up for him as well.
You can open both lines.
Okay. Okay.
Both are open.
Is that Jay you said? Jay Fireby?
Yes.
Okay, Jay? Hello, Jay?
Jake.
Oh, Jake.
Yes, thank you. I think one of the points that is not understood is that the percentage that we did not hit was an apprentice local hire percentage. So what Brad's trying to say is that the technical work that is required at the end of the job, we're not allowed to put apprentices on these tasks. So by the time we had found out that we were not in compliance, there was only the highly technical work of interconnecting the electrical system, and at that point in time, you can't have 10 apprentices like we did earlier on the job installing modules. You can't have that same quantity of apprentices doing the technical energized work.
Okay, let me ask you. So that's what happened with the electrical apprentices, that you could only use some of them, and we had obviously others who were unable to get work. And I guess based upon your testimony here, it could be attributed to the fact that we came to you late. Let me ask you.
And I don't. I'm sorry. It does sound like it was a little bit late, but there's also the technical nature of solar projects. They do go very quickly. So the trigger points of compliance getting with us might have worked on a standard job that has a slow burn of labor, but on solar projects, you get in and when you're doing the module install, you burn up 70% of your labor in a very short period of time. So that time had come and gone, and then compliance came to us and started telling us to try to meet these goals. But by the time they did, whether it's late or not, there's only highly technical work that for safety purposes, we can't even put apprentices on. So although we did drastically move the number on the apprentices, we weren't able to get to that, was it 50% or 45% number?
Well, late does matter. You said late or not. Late does matter. And so
I agree.
Preferably not late would have been able to maximize more involvement in work than being late. Let me ask.
I understand, and I agree.
Let me ask also, you speak of electricians. What about roofers? Do we have any roofer talent, skill, or experience being used in this work?
That's a good question, and for clarity, both Brad and I work for CSI Electrical Contractors. We represented the vast majority of the laborers for PCC who held the contract with the city. So our labor forces were 100% involved electricians. So that's all we can speak to.
Okay. Is there anyone else, Dr. Campos, on the call to give remarks as a worker or working with the contractor that can speak to some other areas of work which I'm interested in having some inquiry about, other than I know more than electricians work on a construction project? Maybe Ian can help me in terms of my additional questions, since he had some oversight representing the city on this project, if we don't have a contractor representative here. Ian?
Yes, I actually would like to speak. I need to clarify something, Commissioner Davis. The fact that we had our first transmittal correspondence and our first PLA meetings in January does not mean that we were not monitoring this project before then. We do monthly PLA reports that we sent to the contractor, and we started doing that in October. So again, we dealt with PCC.
Well, I was going to get to that in my summary. Okay. But I'm still digging to better understand what occurred. I've been able to get some remarks as it relates to electrical work, but I still have some inquiry, some concern, some questions about if, in fact, you had any roofer-type guys there on the job. Did you have any of those?
Yes. There were 43 roofers that worked on this project.
And how much work did they get from the project?
How much work did the roofers get on this project?
Yes, sir.
The roofers, give me 1 second, I'll tell you exactly how much work they got on this project. The roofers got $85,000 in terms of salary on this project. There were 38 of them.
Mm-hmm. So they were able to work in the first half of the project. Is that where the majority of their work took place? Because it was described to me as if, in fact, there were kind of two divisions of work, and that particularly as it relates to, obviously, electrical, a lot of it took place in the first half of it. Is that the same story as it relates to roofers, for example?
Yes, it is. The roofers worked largely in 2017, and as the year went on and 2018 came, their work decreased.
Okay. They would be a part of the 379 hours?
Yes, sir.
What about carpenters? Did we have any of those?
Yes, we did.
Tell me about their work. When did they work? Is it true that they only worked in the first half, or didn't get a chance to work in the first half as well, or where are we with them?
The carpenters worked in 2018, so they worked towards the later portion of the project. I can't actually pinpoint exactly when the carpenters worked in 2018, but it was in 2018. But their work was very quick. They came, they worked, and they were done.
Okay, so my question then is, as we look at, you had mentioned in your opening that we had transitional workers that were a part of this class of individuals who were expecting work. Is that correct?
Sir. Yes, sir.
And then did we have some people that were veterans?
Yes, we did. We had one veteran on this project.
Okay. Did we have any that were from low-income areas?
We did have individuals from low-income areas that essentially, that's not the total criteria, but we certainly had folks from low-income areas. There were 3 individuals that were receiving public assistance. That doesn't necessarily mean that they live in a low income area, but they were definitely low income. We had an additional 7 individuals that actually were deemed low income. And so again, you know, that's 10 individuals right there on the project that worked that would be considered that.
Now,
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, I'm listening.
I was going to say that there were a total of 10 transitional workers on this project, and you could very well have where 1 or more transitional workers touch more than one category. So you could have a low-income resident that was also a veteran, but we had 10.
So these transitional workers,
yes,
each of the 10 of them did not get an opportunity to partake in the work, correct?
Oh, I'm not going to say that at all, sir. This project achieved 23% transitional workers in terms of project hours. That is outstanding. I have nothing to say about that other than clapping my hands.
Okay. So the issue here then is that we had some 379 hours that we should have been able to indulge some of these workers in, but we were not able to do so, correct?
At the apprentice level, yes, sir.
So I do have a concern that, first of all, BCA got to them late. You did mention a few minutes ago that you started back in January, and certainly I was going to say, it would appear to me when we engage in these projects and from the beginning that we have some overview of what our goals and what our objectives are, particularly if we are held with the responsibility of overseeing these apprentices and to make sure that they realize every opportunity we are trying to introduce them to. And if we're trying to do this, we can't go in there late. You did mention additionally in the beginning of your remarks that unfortunately an employee from BOE had this on his desk and that employee had resigned or had retired. Is that correct, right?
Yes.
So it looks like as a result of that issue that it has an adverse impact, in fact, upon what we were able to realize on this project. Is that pretty fair to say, Mr. Monteith?
I don't want to blame the employee from BOE and his retirement on this.
I understand the employee
I know.
from BOE had retired. So I'm not blaming him. It was on his desk. Somebody has to be accountable, though, right?
Sure. And so we're talking about a change order, the last change order, which resulted in this project coming to the board essentially 2 years after it was complete. That's why I mentioned the retirement piece. Again, with BCA, with the Office of Contract Compliance, we monitor these projects on a weekly, if not a daily basis. This particular project, again, had a pre-construction meeting in September 2017. We provided them via email. When I say them, PCC, the prime contractor, we provided them a monthly PLA report that breaks down both monthly and from a monthly standpoint and a contractor standpoint, how everyone is performing in local hire, local apprentice, and transitional worker. We sent that report for October 2017. We sent that report for the month of November 2017. We didn't send one for December 2017 because not a lot of work gets done in the rainy season and the holidays. We sent a report for January 2018, one for February 2018, one for March 2018, one for April 2018. This is something that while we didn't necessarily call meetings and send official correspondence giving them liquidated damages letters, they knew. PCC was informed and they understood what was going on. And you know, could we have had a PLA progress meeting a little bit earlier? Sure, but not having a PLA progress meeting in itself does not mean that we're not communicating with the prime. The analyst that worked this project is one of the best analysts in OCC, bar none, and he was very thorough. And unfortunately, we had a progress meeting with them, and we found out that the project wasn't at 30%, it was at 70. And that's when we got in a row. And I actually want to credit CSI because CSI worked with us with the transitional search, and that number went from 0 to ultimately 23 because of their efforts. And I appreciate what they did to get this project so high as it relates to the transitional worker numbers, because that does not happen very often, a number coming in that high.
I'm concerned about this 379 hours. I'm concerned about how it was managed. I'm concerned about the process you described, where you did all of this notification, and then after the notification took place, you waited until we accumulated 379 hours. And here we are. I mean, at what point, when you give these numerous notifications, do we administratively do something to get the kind of results that we deserve to get in the work that we do? Or do we just keep sending notices?
No, we don't keep sending notices. That's when we start having meetings and we start pulling the contractors into the meetings and say, hey, what's going on?
Reflecting back on this example of what you have described before this board today, what do you think should have been done differently, if you think anything differently at all should have been done?
I have to choose my words carefully here. Honestly, what could have been done differently is we needed to have more direct dialogue with the prime contractor the very minute that we saw this project was not performing well. At the very beginning of this project, the project actually was performing well. And we give projects an opportunity to
Well,
get
let me just stop you. Let me stop you because you've already answered my question.
Okay.
Your first remark is the answer to my question. You should have contacted them the minute. We don't have time to play games and to see what they're going to do after you've done your regular notification, as you should do. But if we are concerned about maximizing these 379 hours, we want to do everything we can. We have a level of accountability right along with the prime contractor. We do. And so if we're concerned about this, now it would be one thing if we did everything we could and had that meeting and contacted them and then they refused or they resisted. But when we came to them late and we had reasons for being late, but when we look at this problem, we have to do so in a balanced kind of way. And I just hope that in the future, the things that you have told me today are the things that we do moving forward from our perspective. And I will say that hearing from the prime contractor, they're telling us that in dealing with them, we need to, from the very beginning, have more of a vision about the overall project and what we're going to expect. Because they have identified our lateness, whether they want to assess it that way or not. They have identified in this remarks that they have given today is that our lateness had some adverse impact upon the results that we got here today. So moving forward, I will allow my colleagues to give remarks in terms of how they see this issue. I do have concerns, and I think moving forward, we will work in a different kind of way when the circumstances is presented before us.
Well, thank you, Commissioner Davis. I don't have a lot to add to your good work there, sir. And Mr. Monte, thank you. I think you did a good job representing the department in this situation. I also understand the local hiring that was 48%, which is 18% over the goal. Transitional workers, 13% over the goal. Dr. Davis, I think I'm following you in where you're headed. Let me know if I'm not, because my intent is to. Sure. I think given the explanation that you've elicited through your questioning, I don't know that we should be assessing a penalty here of liquidated damages. Mm-hmm. So I had to confirm with Mr. Jordan before that the board does have the discretion to waive these off. But I would follow your lead, Dr. Davis, Commissioner Davis, on what you think.
Yes, and I just want to say you're on the right road, but I have just a brief remark. I want to say I want BCA to continue to bring us these issues because on a good day, it's good for us to know this and to have this information because we want those 300 and something hours to go to those guys. If we look at our circumstance socially in the city of Los Angeles today, the mayor has been working along with the governor doing an outstanding job at dealing with something we could not prepare for in terms of health on this COVID-19. We've done the distancing, we've sheltered at home. But in addition to that, currently we have this social problem about discrimination and the treatment of minorities, in particular African Americans. And in addition to this need to increase the police-community relationship, which the mayor is working on in terms of the budget and redirecting funds to correct our social problem today as it relates to that. In the key critical area is our opportunity as the city's public works division to provide the economic opportunity that the mayor so clearly states time in and again in his back to basic principles. Creating economic opportunity in Los Angeles for all of Los Angeles. It is our role as commissioners to make sure that we fill in the blank for those all. And I bet you a dime for every nickel you have in your pocket that some of these people that didn't get that 379 hours are part of the people to whom we owe a great deal of service as it relates to economic opportunity. And so to let this issue go by in this time would have been tragic. And I am saying that because the lateness is critically important. Our meeting with the prime contractors is critically important. Nonetheless, to mention, we structurally have a problem in the state of California with Proposition 209 that disallows us an opportunity to include people who traditionally have been structurally locked out of public services and publicly funded projects and public construction projects. And so for those of us who sit on this board and are the keeper of these items, it is our responsibility to make sure moving forward that we do everything that we do in government, and we are equally as accountable as we expect our contractors to be. And so I agree with you, Mr. President. If we were late, we were late. And why should we hold them accountable if we are not going to be held accountable? How we implement these programs has a lot to do with how people feel about government. And sometimes if we don't administer our programs right, it impacts the way they feel about each other. So we have some responsibility, and I will support and agree with your action today, given the testimony that has been before us.
Thank you, sir. So that'll be then my motion under, frankly, Commissioner Davis's lead there, and Commissioner Davis's second. Any questions, Commissioner Caloza? Oh, I'm sorry. I just realized I went to Commissioner Davis first. Let me go to Commissioner Caloza.
Thank you. Thanks to Commissioner Davis for, and sorry to interrupt you, President James.
No, go ahead.
For going through this item and, thoroughly investigating each part of it. I did just want to add a few things to the record and thank BOE and BCA. I had asked to be briefed on this morning. I think, I shared a lot of the same concerns that Commissioner Davis had brought up when he was going through this item earlier. I did, just want to make sure to reiterate too, because the contractors on the line, that BOE this morning did express, how happy they were with this project. And just, can't reiterate enough the numbers that you have met with the local hiring and the transitional hiring are above the goals set forth that President James also highlighted. I think that is important to really add an exclamation point, just because, you didn't have to go 18% over your local hiring goal. You didn't have to go 13% over your transitional hiring goals. And so as we create and structure this program where there are consequences, if you will, for the liquidated damages when you don't meet the goal, I hope that we take that into consideration when we when you go above and beyond the goal for your other metrics. And so I know too, and just wanted to mention that from what I read in the report and from the briefing this morning, that BCA takes the PLA and enforcing the PLA really seriously. I know there's a lot of things that could be improved, especially with the delay. I know the contract acceptances as context, I've been working with them to really go through the backlog of some of these things. And so there's been a number of places where it's gotten stuck. And, collectively, I think we all take responsibility to Commissioner Davis's point about the city being late to this. And I wholeheartedly agree that I don't think that we should assess any liquidated damages for this case, especially since it is 2 years after the completion of the project. The project itself, as mentioned, was under budget, and they achieved for 2 of the other metrics for the PLA above and beyond what the goal was. And so I think just taking that into consideration, I just want to make sure that I added that to the record so it was clear. And then just a last and final question for me for Mr. Monte is in the subsequent meetings with the contractor, did you see progress in terms of them reaching their goal, or can you speak a little bit to whether or not you thought they exhausted their outreach efforts as much as possible to meet the goals set forth in the PLA?
I absolutely saw progress, and I spoke to that when I was going through my initial presentation, where after the first meeting, you saw just incredible progress right away. The local hires shot up, the transitional got into compliance, and then it continued to creep up to where it ultimately finished at 23%. It was definitely there. Again, I want to credit CSI because they were the ones that did the majority of the work, like was mentioned here. They're the ones that really put the effort forth and did what needed to be done here. I really wish that the information that we shared with the Prime PCC, with the Prime PC, I'm sorry, the text that just came in from Hannah Choi that I'm going to have to talk to as soon as I get off the line here. But I really wish that, again, that the prime contractor had really interacted with us and more so just kind of received an email, and I don't know what they did with it. But to Commissioner James's point, it should not take a meeting that we call 4 months after the project is underway, regardless of what percentage that project is at. And the good thing is we have, and I don't want to go on too long here, but the good thing is we've invested in technology at BCA. And we have a real-time dashboard right now that will give any contractor, whether they are a prime or a sub on any PLA project, their daily progress in terms of where they are. We have a dashboard that will lay that out by contractor. We have another dashboard that will lay it out demographically. And all of that is available to us now. And that just aids us in our ability to interact with the contractors and ultimately to help them, because we don't want to penalize anybody. We want them to be in compliance because that results in people getting opportunities out of career. That's what this has always been about. So again, there's some lessons to be learned from BCA here, but certainly there was definitely improvement with this project once we were really meeting with them and sending them letters, unfortunately, and we saw the market change. And again, I applaud CSI and the other contractors for doing what they did to get the numbers to where they ultimately ended up.
Great, thank you for adding that additional context, and just wanted to make sure that it was said again, and because a lot's been said already, but I just wanted to make sure that that was emphasized. I don't have any other further questions, but fully support if the motion is to not assess liquidated damages towards the contractor for this project.
Thank you, Commissioner Colozo.
Second.
Commissioner Garcia, anything on your cue? Okay. So And Commissioner Close, let me apologize. I had forgotten that I went to Commissioner Davis first and hadn't gone to you first and gotten that clear. So I think we've got the commentary on the line. So let me just, Commissioner Davis, I'll remake the motion, and let me try and do it correctly. On number 6, my recommended motion would be to recommending that the board, 1, accept the contract, and then 2 and 3 are revised. It would be to not assess Perma City construction with liquidated damages, period. And then I guess, Dr. Campos, it would be to instruct the Director and Office of Accounting to return, to the extent those funds are being held, those would be returned, correct?
Yes, it would basically change item 3, or recommendation number 3, to instruct the Director of Office of Accounting to disencumber the disputed liquidated damages in the amount of $23,718.75.
Oh, we lost you, Dr. Campos. You froze.
Can you hear me?
There we go. Would you read number 3 again?
Absolutely. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Perfect. Recommendation number 3 would be to revise as instruct the Director, Office of Accounting, to disencumber the disputed liquidated damages in the amount of $23,718.75 and return those funds to Perma City Construction Corporation.
Okay, Dr. Davis, Commissioner Davis, is that the motion that you and I thought we were talking about a moment ago?
I think it is.
Okay, thank you. So that would be a second from Commissioner Davis. Any objection, Commissioner Garcia? Okay, any objection, Commissioner Caloza?
No, I second as well.
Okay, thank you. Then that'll be the order. Dr. Campos, this doesn't have anything else to do with additional approval, so we can send it forthwith, and that takes care of agenda item number 6, correct?
That does.
All right,
yes.
Mr. Monte, I want to thank you for your extensive work today on this hearing and responsive to the questions and the dialogue. Commissioner Davis, thank you so much. Commissioner Cloza, Dr. Campos, have we cleared the desk, Dr. Campos?
Yes, you have.
Okay. Everyone have a nice, safe weekend, and we are adjourned this Friday afternoon.
All right, thank you. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kyra, if you can stop the recording from the chambers, and then also turn down the mics, or turn off the mics. Will do. All right, thank you. Take care.